Door. The coin hit the marble floor before anyone in that lobby said a word. It spun twice, caught the light from the chandelier above, and stopped somewhere near the foot of the front desk. The sound was small, barely a tick against all that polished stone, but every person within 30 feet heard it. They heard it the way you hear a glass shatter in a quiet restaurant. Everything pauses. Everyone looks. 4. The man who had placed that coin on the counter, along with the rest of his change, exact to the cent, stood very still. His name was Aubrey Noel. He was 53 years old. He was wearing a canvas jacket he had owned for 11 years, work boots with a scuff across the left toe, and a gray wool toque pulled down just above his brows. He had driven 4 hours from Thunder Bay that morning. He had not stopped for breakfast. 4. The man behind the desk, the one who had flicked the coin over the edge with 2 fingers, the way you'd brush a crumb off a tablecloth, looked down at the floor and then back up. His name was Preston Hale. Badge said Guest Services Supervisor. His expression said something else entirely. I said we don't take cash at the front desk, Preston Hale said. Policy, sir, said. Sir, the way some people say it when they mean the opposite. Aubrey Noel looked at the coin on the floor, did not move to pick it up. The lobby of the Caldwell Grand Hotel in downtown Toronto was the kind of place that made you feel you owed it something just for walking in. 12-foot ceilings, a floral arrangement the size of a small car, carpet so thick it swallowed sound. The Caldwell had been a fixture on King Street West for 40 years, and it carried itself accordingly. If you didn't already know you belonged there, the lobby had a way of telling you. 4. Preston Hale had worked that front desk for 6 years. He was good at reading people. Or he believed he was, which is a different thing entirely, and a more dangerous one. 4. He had read Aubrey Noel the moment the man walked through the revolving door. Canvas jacket, old boots, no luggage beyond a single worn leather satchel, toque indoors. The Caldwell attracted a certain kind of guest, and in Preston Hale's 6 years of experience, this man was not it. There's a cash machine 2 blocks east on Adelaide, Preston Hale said, or you can pay by card. Those are your options. Aubrey Noel set his satchel on the floor beside him. He unzipped it slowly. He was not a man who moved quickly when he didn't need to. He pulled out a folded piece of paper and placed it on the counter. I'm not here to check in, Aubrey Noel said. His voice was quiet, not meek, quiet the way a river is quiet when it's deep. 4. He had a slight Northern Ontario accent, the kind that softens the vowels and shortens the sentences and says more in silence than most people say out loud. Preston Hale glanced at the paper without touching it. 4. Then how can I help you? It wasn't really a question. I have a meeting, Aubrey Noel said. 10th floor, 2 o'clock. Preston Hale looked at the clock on his computer screen. It was 1:47 in the afternoon. Noel. Preston Hale typed something, looked at the screen. 4. Typed again. His brow moved in a way that he probably thought wasn't visible, but the woman at the concierge desk 10 feet away. Her name was Yolanda, and she had worked the Caldwell for 9 years. 4. And she missed nothing, saw it. She saw Preston Hale find whatever he was looking for, and then look up at Aubrey Noel and make a decision about something that had nothing to do with what was on the screen. Anything, Preston Hale said. Aubrey Noel nodded, once, under the Stonebridge Group. Check the executive boardroom. Another pause. Another round of typing with a kind of deliberate slowness that said, I'm doing you a favor just by looking. There's a meeting up there, Preston Hale said, but it's private. Invitation only. Senior management. I'm aware, Aubrey Noel said. I'd need to call up, confirm, then call up. Preston Hale did not reach for the phone, for he picked up the coin from the counter edge. Somehow it had found its way back, and set it down again, this time flat, with a small click. Is there someone up there who would know you? Someone I could speak to? 4. And there it was. The thing underneath all the policy talk and the typing and the sir. The question that wasn't really a question either. Is there someone who can vouch for you? Someone like us? 4. The woman at the concierge desk, Yolanda, set down the pen she was holding. 4. A man in his 40s waiting near the elevator. Gray blazer, open collar, the look of someone who made it his business to arrive early to things. Glanced over from behind his phone. His name was Daniel Ochterberg, was a corporate attorney. He had been listening since the coin hit the floor. Call up, Aubrey Noel said again, still quiet. Still not moving. 4. Preston Hale reached for the phone with the air of someone performing a task beneath them. He dialed, he waited, shifted in his face. A small rearrangement, like furniture being moved in another room. He put the phone down. They're not answering, he said. If you'd like to take a seat in the lobby, I'll stand. I can try again in a few minutes, but if I can't confirm, I'm not going to be able to send you up. Aubrey Noel looked at him, not with anger, not with hurt, more. With the specific patience of a man who has been in rooms like this before, who has been on the receiving end of decisions like this before, learned, not without cost, that the most powerful thing he can do in this moment is wait. I'll stand, he said again. The lobby moved around them. A family with luggage crossed to the elevator. 4. A bellhop pushed a cart. Somewhere near the entrance, 2 women in business suits laughed at something one of them had said. 4. The Caldwell Grand continued being the Caldwell Grand, indifferent to the small human drama unfolding at its front desk. Preston Hale tried the phone once more. Still no answer from the 10th floor. Then he sighed, not quietly, but audibly, the way adults sigh at children who are asking for something unreasonable, and he said, Sir, I understand you think you have a meeting here. 4. But I cannot send someone up to a private executive session without confirmation, and right now I have no confirmation. What I can do is take your name and number and have someone contact you. I don't need a callback, Aubrey Noel said. I need to go upstairs, and I'm telling you I can't authorize that. Then get someone who can. Something flickered behind Preston Hale's eyes. Not embarrassment, not yet. Something closer to irritation at being pushed, at someone not accepting the version of events he was offering. Mr. Noel, and the way he said it now, not sir, the name, full stop, had a finality to it, with respect for. The Caldwell has a responsibility to its guests and to those conducting business on the premises. I'm not in a position to. Preston, the voice came from behind Aubrey Noel. Everyone turned. The elevator doors had opened. 4. A woman was walking across the lobby with the particular speed of someone who has just realized they needed to be somewhere 30 seconds ago. She was in her mid-40s, dark blazer, a lanyard with a conference badge still around her neck. Her name was Harriet O.C. Mensah. She was the Caldwell's director of operations and had been for 4 years. She looked at Preston Hale. 4. She looked at Aubrey Noel. She looked at the coin on the counter. It passed through her face that was not easy to name. Mr. Noel, she said, and her voice had warmth in it, not performance warmth. I'm so sorry. I was on my way down. The elevator took forever. She extended her hand. We've been expecting you upstairs. Everyone's ready when you are. Aubrey Noel shook her hand. Thank you, Harriet. He picked up his satchel. He picked up the folded paper from the counter. He did not look at Preston Hale, but Harriet O.C. Mensah did, gave. Preston Hale was not loud. It was not a scene. It was the kind of look that carries a full conversation inside it. One that would happen later, in a smaller room, with a closed door. Preston Hale understood this. The color in his face changed. Right this way, Harriet said, and Aubrey Noel walked to the elevator. Here is what Preston Hale did not know. 4. He did not know that Aubrey Noel had grown up in Fort William, which is the west half of Thunder Bay, in a neighborhood where not many people made it very far. He did not know that Aubrey had left at 19 with a partial hockey scholarship and a duffel bag, and a specific, quiet determination that had never been loud but had also never, in 34 years, stopped. Or he did not know that Aubrey Noel had spent 15 years in commercial real estate. Not the glamorous end, the unglamorous end, or the end, where you are driving to small towns in northern Ontario and sitting across from municipal councilors in Tim Hortons and negotiating for properties that no one else wanted because no one else could see what they would become for. He did not know that Aubrey had done this long enough and well enough that the unglamorous end had eventually become something else for. He did not know that Stonebridge Capital, the group name he had typed into his computer and found, and then set aside, had, in the last 18 months, quietly acquired a controlling interest in Whitmore Hospitality Holdings. And he almost certainly did not know that Whitmore Hospitality Holdings owned, among other things, 4 hotels in Ontario, including, as of the 3rd week of October, the Caldwell Grand. The meeting on the 10th floor was not a conference. It was not a seminar. It was the first operational review under new ownership, and the agenda had been sent to every department head in the building 2 weeks prior. It had Aubrey Noel's name at the top, under the words principal investor and board chair. Preston Hale had not read the memo, or perhaps he had read it and, seeing the name, having no face to attach to it, had filed it in the part of his mind reserved for things that did not apply to him. Either way, the boardroom on the 10th floor had floor-to-ceiling windows looking west over the city. The lake was visible on clear days, and today was a clear day. The CN Tower stood in the middle distance like it always did, impervious and familiar. 12 people were seated around the table when Aubrey Noel walked in. Department heads, regional managers, 2 members of the acquisitions team who had flown in from Vancouver. They looked up when the door opened. Harriet O.C. Mensah introduced him. 1. This is Aubrey Noel, chair of the Stonebridge Board, and the reason we're all sitting here today. There were handshakes. There were business cards. 4. There was the particular energy of a room full of people recalibrating. Some of them had met Aubrey before. Most hadn't. 4. And even the ones who thought they knew what to expect were adjusting something internal upon actually meeting him. He sat at the head of the table in his canvas jacket. He did not apologize for it, put his satchel on the floor, pulled out a legal pad covered in handwritten notes and said, "Let's talk about what's working." And they did. For 2 hours, Aubrey Noel led that room the way he led every room. Not loudly, not with the performance of authority, but with the kind of attention that made people feel both seen and accountable. He asked questions no one expected him to ask. He remembered details from documents he had apparently read thoroughly. When he disagreed with something, he said so plainly, and then explained why. And when someone pushed back on him with a good reason, he changed his position without drama. At one point, somewhere around the 40-minute mark, the head of food and beverage, a man named Colin Tharp, who had worked in hospitality for 20 years and had a well-developed detector for people who actually knew things versus people who merely talked about them, leaned over to the regional manager beside him and said, very quietly, "He's the real thing, isn't he?" It wasn't a question. The review ended at 4:15. People gathered their things. The conversations fragmented into smaller ones, the way they do after long meetings. Side negotiations, logistics, the social business that happens in the margins. O.C. Mensah fell into step beside Aubrey Noel as the room emptied. "I owe you an apology," she said. Not as an opening, as an acknowledgement. Direct. Aubrey looked at her. For the lobby. Miss stopped. It should not have happened. And I want to be clear. I'm not saying that for optics. I'm saying it because it was wrong and you deserved better from the moment you walked in the door. Aubrey was quiet for a moment. Outside the windows, the lake sat pale and flat in the late afternoon light. "How long has he been there?" he asked. 6 years. Good at his job. Harriet paused. She was a careful woman, not given to easy answers. He has very strong reviews from guests, from a certain kind of guest. Or Aubrey nodded slowly. He understood the sentence inside the sentence. Or is this the first time something like this has happened? Under your watch? Harriet did not answer immediately, which was itself an answer. There have been complaints, she said carefully. They've been handled through standard channels. And standard channels produced what outcome? Coaching. Documentation. Aubrey picked up his satchel from where it sat, against the wall. Then I'd like to see those files. Not right now. Next week is fine. But I want to understand the pattern before I say anything else about what happens next. Harriet nodded. I'll have them ready. He moved toward the elevator. Then he paused. The woman at the concierge desk, he said. In. She saw the whole thing. Yolanda. She's been with us 9 years. She didn't look away, Aubrey Noel said. A lot of people would have. She didn't. Harriet said nothing, but she filed it. Downstairs, the lobby had moved on. 4. It was after 4 now, the light coming in lower through the front windows, the afternoon crowd giving way to early evening arrivals. The Caldwell did what the Caldwell always did, maintained its particular version of the world. Preston Hale was still at the front desk. He had been there through all of it. Through Harriet walking back to the elevator with the man in the canvas jacket. Through the quiet return to normal. 4. Through his own replaying of the afternoon, the way you replay things when you know you made a decision, and you are not yet ready to call it what it was. 4. The man at the counter right now was asking about parking validation. Preston Hale answered him. He answered with the same smooth efficiency he always did, because that was what he had, and it was real, and it had served him for 6 years, and it could not, tell the whole story by itself. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Eternal message. From Harriet's office. Please come see me before you leave today. He set the phone face down on the counter. The lobby moved around him. A bellhop with a luggage cart. 4. A couple heading to the restaurant. The floral arrangement, enormous and unmoved, doing what flowers do in places like this, making everything look like it belongs. In the parkade 2 levels below King Street, Aubrey Noel found his truck where he had left it. Not a new truck, one that had been through 7 Ontario winters, and had the undercarriage to prove it. He had bought it used and maintained it carefully, and it had never once let him down, which he considered one of the better bargains of his life. He sat behind the wheel for a moment before starting it. He had driven 4 hours this morning. He would drive 4 hours back tonight. 4. He had done this more times than he could count. Driven into places where he was the only person who looked like him in the room, where people had sized him up wrong before he'd finished setting down his bag. 4. Where the first few minutes were always a negotiation that should not have needed to happen. And he had learned, not easily, not without cost, that what you do in those first few minutes matters. Refuse to do matters. What you hold on to, and what you let go, matters. 4. The coin was still in his jacket pocket. He had picked it up from the lobby floor quietly, without comment, when he was following Harriet to the elevator. Not because he had been told to, because it was his. He started the truck. Outside, Toronto continued. The city moved in its familiar, enormous, indifferent way. Traffic on King, pedestrians at the crosswalk, the light changing, someone running to make a streetcar. Aubrey Noel pulled out of the parkade and into the street. He had work to do. He had files to read. He had decisions to make about a hotel and the people inside it. Decisions that would ripple in directions he could not yet fully see but that he would take seriously. Because that was how he had always done things, and he was too old and too far along to change now. But first, 4 hours north. Home. The kind of place that has never once asked him to prove he belonged there.